Hi there, that's right, my name is Nick Dutch, and I work as a professional tarot reader. Now, as a professional tarot reader, I am exposed to the stories of people who are going through hell on a regular basis. I'm also exposed to the stories of people who are going insane on a regular basis. The vast majority of my clients are not actually insane. They're using the service properly, as an entertainment service that can provide them with some kind of therapeutic benefit that comes from a conversation, which is what a tarot reading really is in practice. And basically the way it should be seen. But there are some individuals who express through their calls to me certain varieties of psychopathology. Now, there's been some talk recently on YouTube about the God complex or the Messianic complex because there's one new YouTuber who thinks he's Jesus Christ, and so it appears. Now, this particular problem can come from many different possible sources. Number one, it could be just a straightforward brain chemistry issue, but straightforward brain chemistry issues could cause a wide variety of different problems, and not just the belief or the perception that one happens to be, the Son of God or the Messiah or something like that. So we got to think more about why an individual would believe that they were the Son of God. The brain chemistry problems I'm talking about can lead an individual to see very simplistic solutions to problems as being what is real and what is important and what is true. And if these individuals have been exposed excessively to religious ideas, for instance, from their schooling, from their parents, from staying up late, taking acid and watching the God channel, whatever, they may start building a model of reality which is based purely upon religion. So it's not just a question of insanity, it's also a question of all the cognitive, all the intellectualizations which come into play when someone is exposed to these ideas. And this is one of the reasons why people like Venom Fang X here on YouTube is quite so dangerous, because they're encouraging people who are already slightly unbalanced to follow certain lines of reasoning and to become people of a certain quality, namely those who have the Messianic complex and develop a number of other religious type psychopathologies. Is the same problem within the New Age movement? Yes, to a certain degree. I had a client on earlier on today who believed very strongly that because her boyfriend started working for a company, the name of which had a particular initial letter, that this was some kind of message in relation to her past life with him 3 or 4 lifetimes ago, when she was not a woman, she was a man who was coming back from war covered in scars. And this initial letter of the company's name was, in her mind's eye, sufficient evidence and corroborating evidence that this was true. Now, this client was very articulate and spoke in a manner which suggested intelligence, but the reasoning that she used was not characteristic of someone who's actually got intelligence. It's characteristic of someone who's got the ability to think taken away from themselves. The average individual, the average human individual has certain concepts which keep them together, concepts of self, concepts of identity, concepts of their role in the world and what it is they can do, they can't do, they should do, they shouldn't do. A lot of these things are quite normal and instinctive to the vast majority of people, but when under the influence of possibly problems which could affect the brain chemistry, plus the cognitive ideas and messages which come through from religion, it can have this extreme effect upon an individual. Now, the reason that I personally feel quite qualified to talk about this is because of a personal experience that I've had when under ill health. I have a history of chronic fatigue syndrome, and during one particular time when the problem was very severe to the point whereby it affected my mind, I could jump to very similar conclusions. I mean, obviously, I realized that was wrong, and so I went through the process of learning and developing and trying to change and trying to educate myself in how to think so I wouldn't fall into these pitfalls. And yes, I did spend a lot of my time in New Age circles when I was younger, and that did not help me in the least. So I've actually had to think myself out of a trap, and I know that that kind of a trap, if not necessarily associated with the Messianic complex, but associated with other forms of simplifications which are theologically driven, can occur. And it's disturbing to see it in somebody else. It's also very therapeutic for the people who can see it in somebody else if they can start seeing that there was a problem that they had at one time that was similar. So I feel that it's a good thing that this person who believes that they're Jesus is coming out on YouTube and being called out, because that's actually going to help other people to realize where they're going wrong with their reasoning. I mean, these types of mania could also be exhibited purely by people who've got the psychopathic personality. A person with a psychopathic personality is not necessarily a killer, but they want control, they want power, they don't see other people as being important, and they'll use any means that they can to control other people. And one of the most powerful means of control of people in our society today is, of course, through religion. And so a lot of people will gravitate to the religious world so that they can deliberately control people. And this is true with every and any religion, no matter what the culture of the religion is. And I have to make that clear and plain as well. Okay. When I'm thinking about humans, I'm thinking about very complex creatures, very fragile creatures as well, creatures who find it very easy to develop problems and issues with reasonable ease, I would say. My role as a tarot reader is to know what type of service people actually not only ask for and would like to have, but what they need. For some people, it is purely the entertainment side of things. For some of them, it's reassurance. For some of them, it's therapy. For some of them, it's bringing them closer to the truth. This service can be very therapeutic at times, because, in practice, a tarot reader is, dare I say it, the unofficial counselor and therapist, without necessarily needing to follow certain lines of or certain methods of practice. If a person goes to a counselor, the counselor could quite easily just sit there and go, and mirror back what the client says. If a person calls a tarot reader, I'm actually allowed, so to speak, to turn around to the client and say, what the fuck are you playing at? Because I've got nothing stopping me from using the word fuck when I need to try and get a message home. With different qualities of people and different backgrounds of people, I have to use words and ideas differently to try and bring people that level of clarity. And yes, I do get people coming to me who've got a messianic complex, and I have to try and help them. If I feel I can't help them, then I'll suggest they talk to a professional counselor or a professional therapist within certain fields so that they can get a different, more specialized variety of assistance. But usually I can actually help people quite a lot. Anyway, that's just a bit of ramble about the problems of humans. In the New Age world, in the pagan world, there's lots of other problems and issues which can crop up, and most of them have to do with problems of reasoning and problems of thought and problems of belief becoming too powerful. And this has a very close parallel with the Messianic type complex. And that's something which has also got to be defeated, and that can really only be done through discussion. And so I'm hoping that my broadcasts here are going to give people probably a more balanced message about New Agey, occulty type weird stuff. Alright, so stay rational, keep cool. Great and glorious Nick Dutch signing out for now.